Why Neville said, "You already are wealthy, just assume it." This is where it begins, because in this video you will discover why Neville's statement holds the power to completely transform your financial reality and your sense of personal abundance. This is how it unfolds, as we will reveal the hidden mechanics of imagination, consciousness, and belief that silently shape every aspect of your life. This is where truth breaks through, showing that your current wealth is a reflection of your inner self, and that by changing your assumptions, you change everything externally. This is why it matters, because mastering this principle allows you to step into prosperity effortlessly and with clarity. This is where illusion fades, dispelling the myth that money comes only from hard work, luck, or external circumstance. This is the turning point, as you begin to see that imagination is the real currency of the universe, and the more vividly you assume your wealth, the faster reality responds. This is where clarity strikes, proving that living as if you are already wealthy is not fantasy, but a precise method for manifesting abundance. This is the unveiling, demonstrating how subtle shifts in thought and feeling ripple outward to create tangible results in money, opportunity, and influence. This is the bridge, connecting Neville's teachings to your everyday experience, showing that wealth is not distant, but already within your reach. This is the pulse of understanding, where feeling, belief, and imagination converge to magnetize prosperity. This is where perspective changes, revealing that waiting for external validation only delays the manifestation you already possess inside. This is the spark, illustrating how every thought, action, and emotion can be redirected to align with the state of having. This is illumination, showing why assuming wealth precedes experiencing it, and why the inner world must govern the outer world. This is momentum building, proving that persistence in this assumption transforms not only finances, but confidence, relationships, and opportunities. This is where subtle power awakens, teaching that the already is a present reality, not a distant goal. This is the deepening, explaining how daily imagination exercises embed the state of wealth into your subconscious identity. This is revelation, showing that the universe responds to the clarity of your assumed state, not to doubt or hesitation. This is where mastery begins, because understanding is not enough without fully living as the wealthy version of yourself. They told you the world is shaped by circumstances, and what if I tell you that everything you see, touch, and feel is born from your imagination? And I will reveal how this hidden power is already within you, waiting to be awakened. I will reveal how belief can rewrite reality itself. And I will reveal the secret that those who master this art move mountains without ever leaving their minds. This is where your journey into effortless wealth truly starts. Can you imagine a world where every coin, every note, and every opportunity you desire is created not outside, but entirely within your mind? This is where it begins. Because in this story you will uncover why Neville insisted imagination is the true currency of life, and how mastering it allows wealth to flow naturally to you. This is how it unfolds, showing that reality is malleable and responds directly to the images you persistently entertain. This is where perspective shifts, revealing that material lack is only a reflection of untrained thought, and that the rich inner life produces rich outer circumstances. This is where truth breaks through, demonstrating that the senses can be deceived, but imagination cannot lie about what you assume is real. This is why it matters, because those who understand this principle operate from a place of effortless creation rather than struggle. This is where insight strikes, exposing that acting from assumption transforms ordinary moments into gateways of abundance. This is the turning point, where you start to grasp that imagination is not idle fantasy, but a precise tool for shaping every detail of your financial reality. This is where clarity deepens, showing that persistent inner scenes of wealth compel the subconscious to orchestrate external manifestations in perfect alignment. This is where momentum builds, illustrating that small, consistent mental exercises amplify into dramatic changes in income, opportunity, and status. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing how imagining already being wealthy infuses your demeanor, choices, and confidence with magnetic authority. This is revelation, demonstrating that the feeling of possession, not the appearance of evidence, is what moves the invisible forces of creation, This is the bridge, connecting the mechanics of imagination with everyday actions so that every step you take reinforces the state you assume. This is where illusion fades, showing that waiting for validation or proof only delays the reality your mind can already generate. This is illumination, proving that when imagination is trusted fully, it orchestrates people, situations, and circumstances to mirror your inner assumption. This is the spark, igniting a recognition that wealth is not acquired externally, but drawn inwardly and expressed outwardly as a natural extension. This is where mastery begins, as each repeated mental image solidifies a new self-concept aligned with abundance. This is the deepening, revealing that imagination creates a gravitational field around you that attracts wealth as effortlessly as light draws the eye. This is the turning point, emphasizing that your outer bank balance will follow the unshakable inner belief of having already arrived. This is the crescendo, showing that by assuming wealth internally, your life transforms into a seamless reflection or imagined state, and nothing can resist the magnetism of a mind fully aligned with abundance. Picture for a moment a life where you don't chase money, opportunities, or recognition, but where wealth itself flows to you effortlessly because you live from its reality first. This is where it begins, because in this story you will learn how assuming the feeling of already having everything you desire reshapes your identity and attracts external proof of abundance. This is how it unfolds, showing that the end-state consciousness is the secret lever behind every manifestation, and that acting as if you are already wealthy creates an unstoppable momentum. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that your outer circumstances are always secondary to the state you inhabit internally, and that the world mirrors your assumed reality without negotiation. This is why it matters, because the moment you live from the end, scarcity loses its grip and opportunities arrive without strain or effort. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that the act of imagining, feeling, and believing in your possession of wealth is itself an invisible transaction that the universe honors. This is the turning point, as you begin to recognize that habits, thoughts, and decisions now flow naturally from a sense of already having, rather than from desire or lack. This is where insight deepens, showing that your body, your speech, and your presence begin to radiate abundance, signaling to the world that you are aligned with prosperity. This is the bridge connecting Neville's principle to practical reality, as your inner state silently orchestrates the outer world. This is where illusion fades, because you realize that waiting for external confirmation is unnecessary. The assumption itself is sufficient to catalyze manifestation. This is revelation, explaining that living from the end is not pretending or wishful thinking, but a disciplined alignment of thought, feeling, and expectation. This is momentum building, proving that each moment spent fully embodying wealth strengthens the subconscious programming that generates real-world results. This is where subtle power awakens, showing that the more convincingly you inhabit your prosperous self, the more the universe conspires to provide tangible evidence. This is the spark, igniting an understanding that living from the end transforms fear, doubt, and hesitation into confidence, decisiveness, and magnetic energy. This is illumination, revealing that wealth is not added to your life externally, but emerges naturally as a reflection of your assumed state. This is the deepening, demonstrating that your choices, relationships, and opportunities now align automatically with the consciousness you maintain. This is where mastery begins, because sustaining the end-state identity creates effortless influence over circumstances, people, and events. This is the crescendo, showing that wealth becomes inseparable from your very being, radiating outward and shaping your reality as though it were a natural extension of self. This is the turning point, proving that by living as if you are already wealthy, your mind, body, and spirit synchronize to magnetize prosperity in every conceivable form. This is the revelation that closes the circle, where the internal state of being wealthy becomes both the seed and the harvest, and nothing outside can resist the pull of a mind fully aligned with abundance. Now consider this. What if the true secret to wealth is not in your bank account, investments, or even your actions, but entirely in the feeling you cultivate within yourself? This is where it begins, because in this story, you will learn how emotions act as the engine that drives your assumptions into tangible reality, and why Neville placed feeling above all else in manifesting abundance. This is how it unfolds, showing that when you feel already wealthy, your subconscious mind automatically aligns circumstances, opportunities, and people to reflect that state. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that thinking alone cannot create lasting wealth, but the combination of thought and vivid emotion generates unstoppable creative momentum. This is why it matters, because the intensity of your inner feeling directly correlates to the speed and scale of manifestation. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that cultivating the sensation of already having wealth rewires your perception of scarcity, lack, and limitation. This is the turning point, as you begin to understand that your emotions are like a tuning fork, broadcasting a signal that attracts corresponding experiences. This is where insight deepens, showing that doubt, fear, or hesitation act as counterweights, diluting the signal and delaying results. This is the bridge, connecting the principle of feeling with practical application, as Neville taught techniques like vivid mental imagery, sensory immersion, and acting as if to strengthen emotional conviction. This is where illusion fades, because you realize that chasing money without the feeling of possession is like trying to pull a magnet without the magnetic field. This is revelation, proving that your inner emotional state determines the quality and quantity of outer abundance more than any external effort or strategy. This is momentum building, illustrating how repeated immersion in the sensation of wealth primes the subconscious to create matching circumstances naturally. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing that emotions are not just reactions, but deliberate tools for shaping reality according to your assumptions. This is the spark, igniting the understanding that sustained feeling of wealth produces a resonance that attracts opportunities, resources, and even timing into perfect alignment. This is illumination, showing that wealth feels first internally, then materializes externally in forms that confirm your assumed state. This is the deepening, demonstrating that each moment spent genuinely feeling abundance compounds your ability to draw larger, faster, and more effortless manifestations. This is where mastery begins, because controlling the emotional atmosphere of your mind ensures that wealth emerges as an inevitable consequence. This is the crescendo, proving that the mind's emotional investment transforms imagination into reality, making wealth a lived experience rather than a distant goal. This is the revelation that completes the loop, revealing that the sensation of being rich is the lever that moves the invisible forces of creation into visible results, and nothing outside can resist the power of a mind fully immersed in abundance. Suppose you discover that every financial setback, every missed opportunity, and every moment of lack in your past is not fixed, but can be rewritten in your imagination to support the reality you desire. This is where it begins, because in this story you will learn how Neville's technique of mental revision allows you to erase limiting memories and replace them with empowering ones that align with wealth consciousness. This is how it unfolds, showing that by revising past experiences, you change the subconscious narrative that governs your present and future financial outcomes. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that poverty or scarcity is rarely external, but a product of repeated mental affirmations that keep you locked in old patterns. This is why it matters, because once you rewrite your history in the mind, your current state of being aligns effortlessly with the abundance you assume. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that revision is not denial of reality, but a conscious reprogramming of your perception to match your desired state. This is the turning point, as you begin to understand that every thought about the past has the power to reinforce or dismantle wealth in your present life. This is where insight deepens, showing that revising even small moments of financial disappointment can ripple into significant transformations in confidence, opportunity, and income. This is the bridge, connecting Neville's principle to everyday practice, where reflection, imagination, and emotional immersion create a new inner story that dictates outer results. This is where illusion fades, because you realize that clinging to past failures only prolongs scarcity, while conscious revision creates fertile ground for abundance. This is revelation, proving that your subconscious mind cannot distinguish real from revised when the emotion and conviction are fully engaged. This is momentum building, illustrating how regular practice of revision strengthens belief and accelerates manifestation in ways that mere positive thinking cannot. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing that by controlling the narrative of your past, you command the trajectory of your future financial reality. This is the spark, igniting understanding that the stories you tell yourself about money become the scripts your life follows, and rewriting them alters the play entirely. This is illumination, showing that every instance of imagining a more empowered version of your past permanently reshapes your identity as a wealthy individual. This is the deepening, demonstrating that revision works not only for money, but for all areas where lack has been assumed, creating holistic abundance. This is where mastery begins, because once you consistently revise your mental records, scarcity is no longer an option in your life. This is the crescendo, proving that the power to change your financial destiny rests in your mind, and that inner revision manifests external wealth with precision and grace. This is the revelation that completes the transformation, showing that, by living in alignment with the rewritten story, you step fully into the state of being wealthy, just as Neville taught. Envision a world where your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs act like a magnet, drawing money, opportunities, and success toward you as naturally as the earth pulls gravity. This is where it begins, because in this story you will learn how Neville's law of assumption turns your inner convictions into a powerful force that effortlessly attracts wealth. This is how it unfolds, showing that whatever you assume to be true about yourself and your financial reality, the universe will reflect back without hesitation. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that it is not effort, struggle, or persistence in external actions that creates abundance, but the unwavering inner assumption of already having. This is why it matters, because when you internalize this principle, every circumstance, person, and opportunity aligns with your assumed state of wealth. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that the magnetic pull of your mind is strongest when emotion, belief, and imagination are fully synchronized. This is the turning point, as you begin to see that acting as if you are wealthy is the signal that activates the universe's natural response to your consciousness. This is where insight deepens, showing that doubt, hesitation, or contradictory thoughts weaken the magnetic field, while clarity and consistency strengthen it exponentially. This is the bridge, connecting theory to practice, because when you consistently assume abundance, external reality cannot resist matching your internal state. This is where illusion fades, because you realize that chasing opportunities without first assuming possession is like pushing against a tide that naturally flows toward your thought patterns. This is revelation, proving that wealth does not negotiate, it responds, and the law of assumption ensures that what you consistently imagine becomes inevitable. This is momentum building, illustrating how each assumption of prosperity multiplies your ability to attract higher levels of wealth, influence, and freedom. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing that the magnetic field of assumed abundance influences not only material wealth, but also relationships, timing, and circumstances. This is the spark, igniting awareness that the more convincingly you inhabit the state of having, the more automatic the universe's response becomes. This is illumination, showing that living from assumption eliminates struggle because alignment itself produces results. This is the deepening, demonstrating that the magnetic law of assumption is the bridge between inner belief and external manifestation, connecting your imagination to reality with precision. This is where mastery begins, because once the assumption becomes second nature, the flow of wealth becomes effortless and predictable. This is the crescendo, proving that you are not merely attracting money, but orchestrating reality itself to conform to your assumed identity. This is the revelation that solidifies your understanding, showing that the magnetism of assumption is not a technique, but a state of being that ensures you live as the wealthy person you already are. Think of the moment when your actions, words, and demeanor perfectly reflect the wealth you have already assumed, even if your external circumstances have yet to catch up. This is where it begins, because in this story you will discover how acting as if bridges the gap between inner assumption and outer manifestation, creating seamless alignment with abundance. This is how it unfolds, showing that every gesture, decision, and interaction communicates your assumed state to the subconscious mind and the universe at large. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that embodying the wealthy self is more than role-playing. It is the natural extension of a mind fully immersed in prosperity consciousness. This is why it matters, because incongruent actions dilute your assumption, while consistent alignment strengthens the magnetic pull of wealth. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that your outer behavior is a reflection of inner belief, and refining it accelerates manifestation. This is the turning point, as you begin to see that subtle shifts, how you carry yourself, speak, or approach opportunities, signal to reality that you are already the person you wish to become. This is where insight deepens, showing that action grounded in assumed identity reinforces neural pathways, imprinting wealth as a natural state of being. This is the bridge, connecting imagination with physical reality, because acting as if ensures that your body, mind, and environment vibrate in harmony. This is where illusion fades, exposing the futility of passive wishing or empty visualization without corresponding alignment in behavior. This is revelation, proving that consistent alignment transforms ordinary routines into conduits for manifestation, amplifying results exponentially. This is momentum building, illustrating how each small act, from confident posture to decisive financial choices, compounds to create visible abundance. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing that the body itself becomes an instrument for sustaining the inner state of wealth. This is the spark, igniting the realization that your assumed identity cannot be separated from how you inhabit your life in every moment. This is illumination, showing that the nervous system, when guided by assumed wealth, naturally attracts circumstances that mirror that state. This is the deepening, demonstrating that alignment between thought, feeling, and action multiplies your ability to manifest wealth faster than intention alone. This is where mastery begins, because when acting as if becomes second nature, the world responds automatically to the unshakable identity you maintain. This is the crescendo, proving that external proof of abundance is merely a reflection of your internal alignment, and the more coherently you act from assumption, the more effortless your results. This is the revelation that closes the loop, showing that by living as the wealthy version of yourself in every choice, your inner state shapes the outer world with precision and inevitability. Ask yourself what happens when doubt creeps into your mind, whispering that wealth is impossible, delayed, or reserved for someone else, and yet you are determined to hold fast to your assumed state. This is where it begins, because in this story you will learn how Neville taught that doubt is not an enemy, but a signal, a test of faith that must be consciously overcome to solidify wealth consciousness. This is how it unfolds, showing that resisting or arguing with doubt only strengthens it, while acknowledging it and reaffirming the assumption dissolves its power. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that every successful manifestation contains a moment when disbelief must be transcended in favor of unwavering inner conviction. This is why it matters, because doubt acts as friction in the mechanism of attraction, slowing the magnetic pull of your imagined wealth. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that persistent attention to the feeling of already having wealth outweighs any fleeting thoughts of lack. This is the turning point, as you begin to recognize doubt as a temporary ripple on the surface, while the deeper current of your assumed state remains unshakable. This is where insight deepens, showing that the more vividly you immerse yourself in the sensation of possession, the less influence doubt has over your reality. This is the bridge, connecting the inner struggle to practical strategies such as repeated mental imagery, affirmations, and conscious emotional focus to reinforce your assumption. This is where illusion fades, because you understand that waiting for certainty or external proof only prolongs the dominance of doubt. This is revelation, proving that resilience in maintaining assumption transforms resistance into a catalyst for deeper belief. This is momentum building, illustrating that each victory over doubt compounds your subconscious programming and strengthens the magnetic field of wealth. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing that controlling your focus is the true lever for attracting abundance effortlessly. This is the spark, igniting awareness that your identity as a wealthy person must remain untouched by temporary uncertainty. This is illumination, showing that the mind's commitment to assumption, despite resistance, is what turns imagination into reality. This is the deepening, demonstrating that doubt is a natural part of the process and must be met with conscious redirection rather than fear. This is where mastery begins, because consistent reinforcement of the assumed state renders doubt powerless over time. This is the crescendo, proving that unwavering attention to the feeling of having transforms mental friction into smooth, effortless manifestation. This is the revelation that closes this chapter, showing that by mastering doubt, you secure the full power of the law of assumption and make wealth an inevitable part of your life. Consider the possibility that your sustained focus on wealth, even when nothing seems to have changed externally, is the invisible engine that ultimately delivers every manifestation you desire. This is where it begins, because in this story you will discover how Neville emphasized persistence in assumption as the key to turning imagination into irreversible reality. This is how it unfolds, showing that consistent mental dwelling on the state of already being wealthy produces an unbroken current that compels the universe to respond. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that time is irrelevant to the subconscious mind, and that persistence in assumed identity ultimately overrides all apparent delays. This is why it matters, because without unrelenting assumption, fleeting thoughts of lack creep in and dissolve the magnetic force of creation. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that repetition of feeling, visualization, and belief imprints the subconscious with unwavering conviction. This is the turning point, as you begin to recognize that external evidence is a delayed reflection, not the driver, and persistence alone ensures eventual material confirmation. This is where insight deepens, showing that steady, daily immersion in the sensation of already having wealth builds an invisible reservoir of momentum that grows stronger each day. This is the bridge, connecting Neville's principle to tangible practice, as imagination, feeling, and assumption converge into a seamless force that manifests without strain. This is where illusion fades, because you realize that giving up or fluctuating in belief interrupts the flow, while persistent assumption guarantees eventual alignment. This is revelation, proving that the mind's continuity in dwelling on the end state produces outcomes far beyond what casual desire can achieve. This is momentum building, illustrating how each repeated mental act strengthens the unseen field of influence surrounding you, drawing circumstances into resonance with your assumed state. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing that persistence in assumption is the invisible engine behind every fortune, every opportunity, and every life-changing coincidence. This is the spark, igniting the awareness that the consistent inner act of assumption creates certainty in the subconscious, which the outer world cannot resist. This is illumination, showing that persistence is not stubbornness, but faith in the creative power of your imagination. This is the deepening, demonstrating that the more faithfully you assume, the more effortless the manifestation becomes, until external reality mirrors your inner conviction perfectly. This is where mastery begins, because unbroken attention to the state of wealth ensures that your assumptions harden into immutable reality. This is the crescendo, proving that no matter the starting point, persistence in assumption never fails, and the universe inevitably aligns with your inner state. This is the revelation that closes this section, showing that the invisible force of persistence is the foundation upon which all Neville-inspired wealth is built. Envision a world where the simple act of feeling thankful transforms your inner assumption into a supercharged magnet for wealth, multiplying every opportunity and blessing. This is where it begins, because in this story you will learn how Neville taught gratitude as the amplifier that strengthens the law of assumption, accelerating manifestation with effortless ease. This is how it unfolds, showing that expressing genuine appreciation for what you already have, no matter how small, elevates your vibration and aligns your subconscious with abundance. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that lack is weakened whenever gratitude dominates your inner landscape, and that abundance grows in proportion to your recognition of existing blessings. This is why it matters, because without gratitude, the assumption of wealth lacks emotional depth, and the magnetic pull of manifestation is diminished. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that gratitude transforms your perception of reality, turning ordinary circumstances into confirmation of your wealth state. This is the turning point, as you begin to experience that the act of giving thanks, even mentally, generates a feedback loop of positivity and attraction. This is where insight deepens, showing that a grateful mindset strengthens belief, reinforces imagination, and locks in the feeling of already having. This is the bridge connecting inner emotional practices with outer results, as gratitude synchronizes your energy with the abundance you seek. This is where illusion fades, because you realize that the universe responds more powerfully to appreciation than to desire or effort alone. This is revelation, proving that every moment spent cultivating thankfulness intensifies your assumed state, compelling circumstances to mirror your inner wealth. This is momentum building, illustrating that gratitude acts like fuel, accelerating manifestation and transforming waiting into active creation. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing that appreciation generates a ripple effect, enhancing not just financial outcomes but personal growth, relationships, and opportunities. This is the spark, igniting recognition that gratitude is not passive, but an active alignment with the truth of your assumed abundance. This is illumination, showing that the act of feeling thankful shifts energy, removes resistance, and makes manifestation inevitable. This is the deepening, demonstrating that integrating daily gratitude practices into your life strengthens your inner identity as wealthy, secure, and fulfilled. This is where mastery begins, because when gratitude becomes habitual, wealth is experienced as natural and effortless. This is the crescendo, proving that the more consistently you elevate your vibration through appreciation, the faster your imagined prosperity materializes. This is the revelation that closes this section, showing that gratitude is the ultimate amplifier of the law of assumption, turning your inner wealth into an unshakable external reality. Imagine for a moment that every thought, feeling, and assumption about money has etched a permanent blueprint in your subconscious mind, silently constructing your financial reality without your conscious awareness. This is where it begins, because in this story you will uncover how Neville taught that your subconscious acts as the architect of your life, and that wealth flows naturally when your inner blueprint is aligned with abundance. This is how it unfolds, showing that beliefs about scarcity, limitation, or unworthiness are invisible chains that restrict prosperity, while beliefs of wealth and sufficiency open doors effortlessly. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that external events are only mirrors reflecting the deeply held convictions stored within your mind. This is why it matters, because understanding and rewriting your subconscious blueprint allows you to experience financial freedom without struggle, strategy, or forced effort. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that repetition, emotion, and assumption are the tools to encode a permanent state of wealth into your subconscious. This is the turning point, as you begin to see that every imagined scene, feeling, or mental affirmation becomes a building block in the architecture of your reality. This is where insight deepens, showing that persistent attention to your assumed state strengthens the subconscious, making it an obedient servant to your desired outcomes. This is the bridge, connecting Neville's teachings to practical manifestation, because your inner convictions dictate the speed, ease, and size of the wealth you attract. This is where illusion fades, because you realize that outward appearances of scarcity are temporary reflections, not determinants of your financial state. This is revelation, proving that reshaping your subconscious beliefs rewires your life, so that opportunities, resources, and relationships naturally align with your wealth identity. This is momentum building, illustrating that consistent mental and emotional reinforcement of abundance creates a ripple effect that transforms every aspect of your material world. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing that your subconscious blueprint governs not only money, but confidence, timing, and the ability to recognize opportunities when they appear. This is the spark, igniting awareness that controlling your inner program is the only reliable path to lasting prosperity. This is illumination, showing that wealth is a reflection of subconscious alignment, and mastery over it begins with deliberate mental cultivation. This is the deepening, demonstrating that the more detailed and vivid your assumptions, the more accurately your external reality mirrors them. This is where mastery begins, because once your subconscious blueprint is set to abundance, manifestation becomes effortless, predictable, and unstoppable. This is the crescendo, proving that the beliefs you harbor shape every dollar, every opportunity, and every result in your life. This is the revelation that completes the circle, showing that by consciously designing your subconscious, you create the ultimate foundation for living as the wealthy person you already are. Envision a world where your imagination serves as the architect of your life, crafting a vivid, detailed blueprint of wealth and abundance long before it manifests externally. This is where it begins, because in this story, you will discover how Neville emphasized the creative power of imagination as the ultimate tool for designing your financial destiny with precision and clarity. This is how it unfolds, showing that every scene you vividly imagine, every detail you mentally rehearse, sends a signal to the subconscious that organizes circumstances to match your assumed reality. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that imagination is not fantasy, but a deliberate act of creation that directly shapes material outcomes. This is why it matters, because without a clear, emotionally charged vision, your assumptions lack direction, and manifestation becomes slow, inconsistent, or diluted. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that the more sensory-rich and believable your mental scenes, the stronger the subconscious alignment, and the faster external proof appears. This is the turning point, as you begin to see that designing your life in imagination allows you to experience outcomes internally before they materialize externally. This is where insight deepens, showing that imagination coupled with feeling produces a magnetic field that draws resources, opportunities, and collaborators into perfect alignment with your vision. This is the bridge, connecting thought and reality, because your inner mental movie sets the stage for every financial and personal success story. This is where illusion fades, revealing that waiting for circumstances to match your desires is unnecessary when your imagination is already shaping reality. This is revelation, proving that the deliberate act of imagining your wealth in vivid detail triggers a chain of events that unfolds with inevitability. This is momentum building, illustrating that sustained mental rehearsal strengthens the subconscious and ingrains the identity of abundance deeply into your being. This is where subtle power awakens, showing that imagination is a currency of creation far more potent than effort, strategy, or external influence. This is the spark, igniting awareness that every scene you mentally inhabit broadcasts a signal the universe cannot ignore. This is illumination, demonstrating that imagination transforms dreams into tangible reality, bridging the gap between inner assumption and outer experience. This is the deepening, revealing that consistent use of vision sharpens intuition, opens doors, and orchestrates circumstances to match your mental design. This is where mastery begins, because when you direct your imagination consciously and persistently, your financial destiny unfolds as a natural extension of your inner state. This is the crescendo, proving that wealth is not earned or stumbled upon. It is designed, rehearsed, and magnetized into existence. This is the revelation that completes this chapter, showing that by using imagination as a tool for deliberate creation, you become the author and architect of your own abundant life. Now, consider this. Your financial reality is not determined by money in the bank, titles, or external recognition, but entirely by the self-concept you carry in your mind about who you are and what you deserve. This is where it begins, because in this story, you will learn how Neville taught that wealth manifests naturally when your identity is aligned with abundance, and nothing external can override a powerful self-concept. This is how it unfolds, showing that the mind cannot distinguish between imagined identity and reality. So living as the wealthy version of yourself produces consistent, inevitable results. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that trying to change circumstances without first changing your self-concept is like building a house on shifting sand, effort wasted and results fleeting. This is why it matters, because unless you embody the identity of a wealthy person fully, all other manifestation efforts remain weak, delayed, or inconsistent. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that thought, feeling, and action must harmonize with your inner self-concept for abundance to flow effortlessly. This is the turning point as you begin to see that all successful manifestations are reflections of an internal state, and the richer your identity, the more powerful your outcomes. This is where insight deepens, showing that reinforcing your self-concept through imagination, feeling, and consistent action trains the subconscious to operate as a conduit of wealth. This is the bridge, connecting identity and reality, because once you become the wealthy person inwardly, circumstances, opportunities, and resources naturally mirror your state. This is where illusion fades, revealing that external proofs are secondary. The primary force shaping reality is the version of yourself you assume and live as. This is revelation, proving that by fully internalizing wealth as part of your identity, scarcity, limitation, and fear lose all influence over your life. This is momentum building, illustrating that every choice, decision, and behavior becomes aligned with abundance when grounded in a wealthy self-concept. This is where subtle power awakens, showing that self-concept not only magnetizes financial resources, but also elevates confidence, clarity, and personal authority. This is the spark, igniting understanding that becoming the wealthy you is not about pretending, but about living consistently from a real, internalized identity. This is illumination, demonstrating that your outer life will inevitably catch up to the inner self you maintain without exception. This is the deepening, revealing that by assuming a consistent, empowered self-concept, manifestation moves faster, smoother, and more predictably than any effort alone could achieve. This is where mastery begins, because when your identity is fixed in abundance, the universe aligns effortlessly to reflect your inner reality. This is the crescendo, proving that identity is the anchor and origin of all wealth, and when fully embodied, ensures manifestation without strain. This is the revelation that closes this section, showing that by becoming the wealthy version of yourself internally, you step into a life of abundance that cannot be denied or delayed. Envision a life where your environment, people, spaces, and circumstances naturally reflects and reinforces the wealth you assume internally, acting as a silent ally in manifestation. This is where it begins, because in this story you will learn how Neville emphasized the importance of aligning your surroundings with your inner state to accelerate the materialization of abundance. This is how it unfolds, showing that subtle shifts in environment and influence can either strengthen or undermine your assumed state of wealth, and that conscious choice is essential. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that your external world mirrors not just beliefs, but the patterns and energies you unconsciously project into it. This is why it matters, because even the most vivid inner assumption can be weakened by dissonant surroundings, unaligned peers, or habitual exposure to scarcity. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that consciously curating your environment, including relationships, media, and physical space, enhances the magnetic power of your assumed wealth. This is the turning point, as you begin to recognize that the people you interact with regularly, the habits you maintain, and the physical spaces you inhabit all broadcast signals to your subconscious. This is where insight deepens, showing that aligning your surroundings with abundance reinforces belief, encourages confidence, and sustains momentum in manifestation. This is the bridge, connecting inner consciousness with outer reality, because when your environment echoes your wealth identity, manifestation occurs more naturally and quickly. This is where illusion fades, revealing that external factors are not obstacles, but reflections and reinforcements of your inner state. This is revelation, proving that choosing surroundings that mirror abundance amplifies your subconscious assumptions, making them undeniable. This is momentum building, illustrating how consciously cultivating supportive influences strengthens the magnetic pull of wealth and attracts opportunities effortlessly. This is where subtle power awakens, showing that environment acts as an extension of imagination, helping maintain the feeling of already being wealthy. This is the spark, igniting awareness that isolation from scarcity and alignment with abundance accelerates manifestation and reduces resistance. This is illumination, demonstrating that every element of your surroundings can serve as a reinforcement of the inner assumption or a distraction from it. This is the deepening, revealing that strategic, deliberate alignment of environment consolidates the subconscious blueprint for prosperity. This is where mastery begins, because when your outer world resonates with your assumed state, manifestation flows with minimal effort and maximum clarity. This is the crescendo, proving that wealth is not only a state of mind, but a harmonized resonance between internal assumption and external influence. This is the revelation that closes this section, showing that aligning surroundings with abundance transforms not just your finances, but the quality, ease, and power of your entire life. Picture for a moment that the objects, symbols, and tangible tokens around you can act as anchors, silently reinforcing the wealth you assume and strengthening your subconscious alignment with abundance. This is where it begins, because in this story you will learn how Neville taught the strategic use of physical cues to solidify inner assumption and accelerate manifestation. This is how it unfolds, showing that a carefully chosen symbol, a piece of jewelry, a note, a visual reminder, can act as a bridge between imagination and material reality. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that tangible anchors serve as triggers for the subconscious mind, reinforcing the feeling and certainty of already being wealthy. This is why it matters, because consistent interaction with these symbols embeds the state of wealth deeply into your mental and emotional framework. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that physical reminders activate the inner conviction of abundance, even in moments of doubt or distraction. This is the turning point, as you begin to see that these tokens are not magic in themselves, but extensions of your imagination, amplifying the energy of assumption. This is where insight deepens, showing that the subconscious responds more strongly to repeated sensory cues, which convert abstract beliefs into living, tangible experiences. This is the bridge, connecting inner assumption to outer reinforcement, because each symbol becomes a constant reminder to embody the wealthy version of yourself. This is where illusion fades, revealing that external props are not crutches, but accelerators of a state that already exists internally. This is revelation, proving that anchoring techniques enhance emotional intensity, focus, and persistence, multiplying the speed and impact of manifestation. This is momentum building, illustrating how subtle daily interaction with tokens creates a feedback loop, strengthening the subconscious blueprint for abundance. This is where subtle power awakens, showing that symbols act as conduits between imagination and reality, silently signaling the universe to align circumstances. This is the spark, igniting understanding that repeated conscious recognition of anchors conditions your mind to live and feel as the wealthy self continually. This is illumination, demonstrating that the physical environment can be harnessed to maintain the state of assumption, creating effortless reinforcement. This is the deepening, revealing that the combination of mental imagery, feeling, and tangible symbols produces an unstoppable alignment between thought and material outcomes. This is where mastery begins, because using symbols strategically ensures that your inner assumption persists through distractions and external inconsistencies. This is the crescendo, proving that small, deliberate objects and reminders become powerful instruments of manifestation when consistently linked to your wealth identity. This is the revelation that closes this section, showing that anchoring assumption in tangible reality transforms your inner belief into a living, self-reinforcing experience that the world must reflect. Suppose you realize that the moment you assume wealth internally, its manifestation is not bound by linear time, and that the universe orchestrates circumstances to reflect your assumption precisely when the alignment is perfect. This is where it begins, because in this story, you will learn how Neville taught that manifestation operates outside ordinary chronological constraints, and that impatience or waiting undermines the natural flow. This is how it unfolds, showing that the inner assumption sets the stage, while external events are arranged in the perfect sequence to confirm your reality. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that delay is often a misinterpretation of timing, not a lack of power, and that persistence in assumption ensures eventual materialization. This is why it matters, because understanding the timing paradox allows you to maintain unwavering belief, even when circumstances appear stagnant or contradictory. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that the subconscious mind orchestrates people, events, and opportunities in perfect synchrony with your assumed state, independent of clock or calendar. This is the turning point, as you begin to recognize that everything external is a reflection of your inner timing, and impatience introduces resistance rather than acceleration. This is where insight deepens, showing that living as though wealth is already present frees you from external pressure and creates effortless flow. This is the bridge, connecting inner assumption to tangible manifestation, because your faith and feeling align with universal orchestration rather than arbitrary sequences. This is where illusion fades, revealing that the universe's timing is precise and always beneficial, even when invisible to the senses. This is revelation, proving that trust in the invisible arrangement of circumstances is a critical element of the law of assumption. This is momentum building, illustrating how steadfast assumption, combined with patience and emotional alignment, accelerates the unfolding of wealth in ways that seem instantaneous yet perfect. This is where subtle power awakens, showing that surrender to timing paradoxes amplifies your influence over events without forced effort or control. This is the spark, igniting awareness that manifestation is a dynamic interplay between inner assumption and universal orchestration beyond measurable time. This is illumination, demonstrating that the moment you embody wealth fully, the universe begins arranging all necessary components to confirm your assumption. This is the deepening, revealing that every delayed or unexpected event is part of the synchronized unfolding that supports your ultimate abundance. This is where mastery begins, because understanding the timing paradox allows you to remain confident, patient, and emotionally aligned throughout the manifestation process. This is the crescendo, proving that by trusting the perfect timing of reality, wealth appears seamlessly, without struggle, friction, or uncertainty. This is the revelation that closes this section, showing that manifestation is always occurring outside linear constraints, and your unwavering assumption ensures it arrives in complete perfection. Ask yourself what happens when your thoughts, feelings, and imagination speak directly to the subconscious mind, bypassing logic, doubt, and external evidence to plant the seeds of your desired reality. This is where it begins, because in this story, you will learn how Neville described the silent conversation, the intimate dialogue with your subconscious that determines your financial and personal destiny. This is how it unfolds, showing that every imagined scene, every charged emotion, and every assumed belief communicates with the subconscious as though it were already true. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that the subconscious mind does not argue, question, or analyze. It accepts what is impressed upon it with conviction. This is why it matters, because mastering this silent dialogue allows you to implant the reality of wealth so deeply that the outer world has no choice but to conform. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that repetition, vivid detail, and emotional intensity are the keys to ensuring your inner communications are received and acted upon by the subconscious. This is the turning point, as you begin to see that the silent conversation is ongoing, occurring every moment through imagination, emotion, and attention, whether consciously directed or not. This is where insight deepens, showing that conscious mastery of this dialogue allows you to overwrite limiting beliefs, scarcity programming, and old patterns that block abundance. This is the bridge, connecting internal assumption with external manifestation, because the subconscious serves as the invisible operator that orchestrates reality based on the messages you provide. This is where illusion fades, revealing that external advice, strategy, or effort cannot substitute for the consistent and deliberate instructions you give internally. This is revelation, proving that wealth, opportunity, and success are merely responses to the state impressed on the subconscious mind through your silent conversation. This is momentum building, illustrating that each repeated, emotionally charged interaction with your subconscious strengthens the alignment between imagination and reality. This is where subtle power awakens, showing that the subconscious mind is always at work, amplifying whatever is impressed upon it, whether consciously chosen or left unchecked. This is the spark, igniting the understanding that controlling your inner conversation transforms resistance, uncertainty, and delay into certainty, flow, and accelerated manifestation. This is illumination, demonstrating that when your silent conversation consistently reinforces wealth, your life becomes a seamless reflection of abundance. This is the deepening, revealing that mastery over subconscious communication ensures that every thought, emotion, and assumption contributes to the life you imagine. This is where mastery begins, because intentional, precise dialogue with the subconscious establishes an unbreakable framework for manifesting wealth. This is the crescendo, proving that the silent conversation is the invisible channel through which imagination shapes reality with perfect fidelity. This is the revelation that closes this section, showing that by speaking to the subconscious with clarity, conviction, and emotion, you command the unseen forces that generate your abundant life. Can you imagine the sensation of wealth so vividly that it permeates every thought, emotion, and action before a single external confirmation appears? This is where it begins, because in this story you will discover how Neville emphasized the energy of expectation as the emotional force that accelerates manifestation and aligns circumstances with your inner state. This is how it unfolds, showing that when you live in the feeling of already having wealth, your subconscious and the universe respond with perfect, precise alignment. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that expectation is not wishful thinking, but a tangible vibrational signal that magnetizes opportunity, abundance, and material confirmation. This is why it matters, because without expectation, the law of assumption is weakened, and manifestation is delayed or inconsistent. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that expectation must be grounded in conviction, emotion, and repetition to create an unbreakable resonance with the wealth you assume. This is the turning point, as you begin to understand that anticipation of abundance activates subconscious pathways and synchronizes external events to your imagined state. This is where insight deepens, showing that the energy of expectation sustains belief through apparent delays, challenges, or contradictions, preventing doubt from disrupting the flow. This is the bridge, connecting inner alignment to outer manifestation, because expectation fuels the magnetic pull that draws circumstances, people, and opportunities into coherence with your assumed reality. This is where illusion fades, revealing that waiting for proof before feeling wealthy is a trap that keeps desires perpetually out of reach. This is revelation, proving that expectation is a living force that turns imagination into reality faster than effort, strategy, or external manipulation. This is momentum building, illustrating how consistent emotional investment in anticipated wealth compounds over time, producing rapid and precise results. This is where subtle power awakens, showing that expectation is both a signal and a conduit for universal coordination, orchestrating events to confirm your inner state. This is the spark, igniting recognition that feeling wealth before it arrives eliminates resistance and creates effortless flow. This is illumination, demonstrating that anticipation and assumption work together to generate an unstoppable creative current in your life. This is the deepening, revealing that every moment spent in genuine expectation intensifies the subconscious blueprint and accelerates external proof. This is where mastery begins, because the energy of expectation transforms waiting into active co-creation, making abundance inevitable. This is the crescendo, proving that by embodying the feeling of wealth now, you collapse time between desire and manifestation. This is the revelation that closes this section, showing that expectation is the emotional engine that powers the law of assumption, delivering the wealth you already assumed to be yours. Think of the moment when living as a wealthy person is no longer a practice or exercise, but a natural, continuous state that permeates every thought, feeling, and action throughout your day. This is where it begins, because in this story you will learn how Neville emphasized the integration of assumption into daily life, making abundance not just an occasional experience, but a constant reality. This is how it unfolds, showing that deliberate alignment of imagination, feeling, behavior, and environment ensures your inner state of wealth flows seamlessly into every aspect of life. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that consistency is the hidden force that transforms fleeting assumption into an unshakable identity, producing effortless manifestation. This is why it matters, because without integration, the power of assumption dissipates, leaving manifestation incomplete or delayed. This is where clarity strikes, demonstrating that daily rituals, mental rehearsals, gratitude, and conscious choices reinforce the assumed state and embed it into the subconscious mind permanently. This is the turning point, as you begin to see that small repeated actions compound over time, creating a self-sustaining rhythm of wealth consciousness. This is where insight deepens, showing that by living in alignment, moment by moment, your inner identity continuously projects abundance, attracting circumstances, resources, and opportunities in perfect resonance. This is the bridge, connecting theory to practice, because integration ensures that your imagined reality no longer exists only in meditation or visualization, but in tangible, lived experience. This is where illusion fades, revealing that wealth is not a goal to chase but a state to inhabit, expressed naturally through thoughts, actions, and emotions. This is revelation, proving that every micro-decision, how you speak, move, invest attention, reinforces your identity as a wealthy person and strengthens the manifestation process. This is momentum building, illustrating how habitual practice of assumption integrates wealth into your nervous system, making it effortless, automatic, and enduring. This is where subtle power awakens, showing that your daily focus, consistency, and mental discipline are the invisible scaffolding for your outer abundance. This is the spark, igniting understanding that continuous practice bridges imagination, emotion, and reality, producing unbroken alignment with your assumed state. This is illumination, demonstrating that integration makes the law of assumption a lived experience, not a technique or exercise. This is the deepening, revealing that wealth becomes inseparable from identity, manifesting in opportunities, decisions, and environments that reflect your inner state naturally. This is where mastery begins, because daily practice transforms assumption into an unshakable lifestyle, ensuring your reality matches your inner conviction. This is the crescendo, proving that the secret to effortless, continuous wealth is living it in every moment, thought, and choice. This is the revelation that closes this section, showing that integration of assumption into daily life solidifies your identity as a wealthy person and makes manifestation inevitable. Now consider this. All the techniques, practices, and insights converge to reveal a single, undeniable truth, that wealth is not something to acquire, chase, or wait for, but a state you already inhabit and can claim at any moment. This is where it begins, because in this story you will experience the culmination of Neville's teachings, showing that assuming wealth internally transforms your entire life and aligns reality with your inner state effortlessly. This is how it unfolds, demonstrating that every thought, emotion, assumption, and action you have cultivated throughout this journey has prepared your mind to accept the ultimate identity of abundance. This is where truth breaks through, revealing that external circumstances have never been the cause of wealth. The inner state of already having has always been the origin. This is why it matters, because understanding this principle removes struggle, waiting, and doubt from the manifestation process, making abundance inevitable. This is where clarity strikes, showing that by fully embracing the identity of a wealthy person, you magnetize every resource, opportunity, and connection necessary to support it. This is the turning point, as you begin to see that the act of assuming wealth is not symbolic, but literal. The universe responds to the conviction of your inner state. This is where insight deepens, revealing that every past method, every imagined scene, and every act of expectation or gratitude has prepared you to live this ultimate truth naturally. This is the bridge, connecting all teachings, because the realization that you already are wealthy eliminates the tension between desire and possession, creating effortless flow. This is where illusion fades, proving that scarcity has never existed except as a fleeting perception, dissolving instantly when assumption is fully embraced. This is revelation, demonstrating that the feeling of wealth is the cause, and external proof is the inevitable effect. This is momentum building, showing that once assumption is total, all actions, choices, and interactions align seamlessly with your identity of abundance. This is where subtle power awakens, revealing that living from the state of already being wealthy generates a ripple effect, influencing others, opportunities, and circumstances in perfect harmony. This is the spark, igniting the final understanding that all manifestation is a reflection of inner identity, and the outer world cannot resist this truth. This is illumination, demonstrating that the moment you assume wealth fully, every obstacle, delay, or limitation disappears in the light of your internal reality. This is the deepening, revealing that the state of already being wealthy transcends effort, time, and external conditions, making manifestation effortless and complete. This is where mastery begins, because embracing this truth allows you to operate from abundance as a permanent way of being. This is the crescendo, proving that wealth is not earned, it is recognized, assumed, and lived from within. This is the revelation that closes the story, showing that the ultimate power of Neville's teaching is simple yet profound. You already are wealthy. Just assume it, and the universe will align to make your inner reality undeniable in every aspect of life.